Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Spike Jones Jr., and I've been asked to moderate this wonderful panel of So You Think You Can Direct a Primetime Talent Show. I'm thrilled to be able to do this because I direct multicam live events, talent shows, and I've also been a fan of the medium ever since I can remember. I've been in some of the best trucks with some of the best directors ever, being able to watch Don Mischer or Lou Horvitz direct the Emmys, Glenn Weiss direct the Tony Awards, Walter Miller direct the Grammys, and it happened to be the year that Pavarotti called in sick about 45 minutes before his performance, and the producers had to scramble to go downstairs and ask Aretha to come up and sing Pavarotti's song with Pavarotti's orchestra and Pavarotti's charts in Pavarotti's key. She said yes, and it was a brilliant, brilliant moment. And what I was able to do was be in the truck and watch how it was handled, how everybody was able to keep their cool. They took their time. Nobody yelled. It was just, it was a ballet, and it was exciting to be there. Today, we have four of the top directors in television today in all kinds of different things. On my left is Michael Dempsey, who is the founder of Dempsey Productions. What up, Michael? Far left. Michael has done a whole ton of stuff. He's directed multiple installments of the ESPY Awards, the NHL Awards, the Teen Choice Awards. He also directed 12-12-12, a concert for Sandy Relief, for which he won a DGA Award for Outstanding Variety Directing. He also happened to come in this morning from shooting a show at the White House, which featured Michelle Obama, and it was a Broadway salute with tons of 5 different acts, was it? And 5 dozen acts from different Broadway shows. Yeah. So also he's got a couple of other things that we're going to talk about. Joel Gallen, 10th Planet Production. Unbelievable. He happened to do, I had the notes. He happened to do the historic 2-hour telethon that was following the attack on 9/11. It was where all 4 networks got together. They created this model, this telethon, to raise money for the events and for the firefighters and absolutely everybody involved in it. The amazing thing was it was done 10 days following the attack, and it was broadcast on all 4 major networks, plus a whole slew of cable networks live. That's a heart attack and a half, if I ever knew one. Alex Rudzinski. Dancing with the Stars was basically created by the BBC in London. Alex set it up, designed it, created how it would look, and directed the first 3 series. Then was asked to come over to take over and direct the first couple of series for ABC, and when the show premiered in 2005, Alex was at the helm and is still at the helm 21 seasons later. It's great to have him on the panel. Michael Simon, phenomenal director, over 400 hours of television that the world has seen. He has got some stories and has done a lot of work for MTV and various other networks. He has a story that we talked about that I'm excited to hear about. and tell you about. A long time ago, guys, a famous actor, film and television, and film director said that directing film was creative. Directing multicam was coverage. Simply coverage. Anybody have any comments on his understanding of what we do and what is the actual?
Try it.
I'm sorry?
Try it.
Try it, exactly. Right. Anybody else?
I disagree because I feel that what we do is as much as telling a story as drama or comedy, because it's, we tell the story of emotion, and whether it's an award show, through cutaways, through close-ups. So that's how I disagree with that.
Anybody else? It's a real simple disagreement for anybody that's sat in a chair, anybody that's been a part of it, and I'm surprised at this person's ignorance. Anyway, one of the many challenges you guys have as directors is entertaining two audiences: the in-house audience, the theater audience, and also the audience at home. The theater audience has a wide array of projection and all types of scenery to take a look at, whereas the television audience has basically this frame to see. How do you separate the two when you're working on something?
Well, first of all, you hire somebody to direct the screen so you don't have to worry about it, and you can just focus on what the people at home see. That's how I do it.
But I'm not talking about what's seen on the screens. I'm talking about the emotional part for the audience. They're watching what's on stage. This huge shot in their peripheral vision. Person at home sees it like this. Do you ever separate? Do you think, oh, this won't work for both?
I think you have to keep that in mind. You want to make sure that the audience in the theater is entertained, because obviously their response is important for the show to be successful, whether it's applause or laughs or whatever. But still, at the end of the day, you have so much to worry about to make sure that the people at home on that 16:9 screen are fully engaged and entertained. That certainly that's where the priority is. And the main thing for the people in the theater is just to keep the show moving and not have it stop down too much, especially if it's live. You better not have it stop down too much.
And I would just add, TV I still think is an inside-out medium. You start with a close-up, and that's going to be your most powerful statement. So whatever it is, no matter how many cameras, no matter how many big wide moves, at the end of the day, you want that, and not worry about the people sitting in the studio.
You're trying to take the audience on an emotional journey. You're trying to tell a story. You're trying to look at what you have set out in front of you and try and help the viewers at home get closer to that subject matter and get to experience in a way that people in the house who might be sitting in a proscenium presentation might not get to experience that intensity and that closeness. And I think we have, with the tools that are at our disposal, we get the opportunity to portray that story and sell it in a much better way to the viewers at home than perhaps the people sitting in the stalls in the best seats in the house might see it.
True.
Yeah, I think that nowadays it's, I do shows sometimes that it's not just the audience, sitting in a theater or on TV. And there's one show that I'm involved in, the iHeartRadio Festival, that I'm dealing with. It's going out live to the radio. It's going out live to Yahoo, and Yahoo producing the content in between some bands. But at the same time, I'm thinking about how I'm going to cut it down to a 2-hour TV special. and also thinking how I'm going to keep the audience at home, in the theater entertained, and rolling commercials that don't roll to Yahoo. So I think that each of them are getting a great experience, but it's more multi-level now.
Michael Simon, we're talking about, or I'm bringing up an umbrella, split-second timing. Do you want to tell the audience about your experience at Madison Square Garden and the greatest?
Sure, I'm just excited someone read something on my website. But so it's a show, I think December or something, 1999. It was the Athletes of the Century, a CBS 3-hour special, Madison Square Garden, with every athlete you can imagine. It was like my wall as a kid coming to life in front of me. And it climaxed with Billy Crystal doing a 4-minute tribute on stage to Muhammad Ali. And goes through, and also by this time we're about 12 minutes over, but CBS said, fine, we'll, screw them. There was evidently not a lot of news in 1999. And so he goes, Sports Illustrated Athlete of the Century, Muhammad Ali, cut to camera 11, which I think was a steady cam, and Muhammad Ali gets up with Madison Square Garden rising to its feet with every athlete you can imagine next to him, and he kind of waves off the people who are going to help him walk up the 7 steps to the stage, and he's walking, and all of a sudden he teeters. And for a second in the control room, my mind goes absolutely blank. It becomes quiet, like I'm in a desert somewhere. I'm going, what happens if he falls? And I don't have time for a seminar, and there's no one from the network going to say anything to me. And I really have this absolute, panic and this surreal feeling like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. If this iconic figure, and he didn't fall. He got up. He wrote himself and walked up to the stage and kissed Billy Crystal on both cheeks, and a very elegant speech, and we went off the air. So, and to this day, I don't actually know what I would have done. I've thought about it several times when I wrote this article, when Spike read it, but I think it's one of those things in live TV, man, you're just there and it's just you. And, so I don't know if that story has any great moral, but it certainly had a pretty profound second in my live TV directing
I
world.
think we've all had that moment in the booth when we've all looked at a moment and thought, God, if this happens, I'm screwed. And you want to be in control. You're supposed to be in control of the whole situation, however much prep you've done. But there are times when, however much prep you've done, you get thrown a curveball, and you're kind of clenching everything and hoping that it plays out the right way and not the wrong way, because that scenario isn't going to play particularly well. So yeah, that's probably why we all have a little bit less hair, having done this for a while, than we did 20 years ago.
Michael Dempsey, you just came from, a couple of months ago, you just happened to direct one of the most viewed weekends, or not even sure what it would be called, but you participated in as director of the Pope's Mass at Madison Square Garden. Where do you begin? How early do you get in? What can you give us a little bit about that? Please.
Yeah, obviously it's a show that you're going to do that's not going to have any rehearsal, so that was a little bit, made me very nervous. I studied a lot of masses. A lot goes on in the Pope's Mass, and you want to cover it correctly and catch everything. And ironically, 3 days before, I was directing Kanye West. And then 3 days later, I was doing the Pope. So my joke was I went from Yeezus to Jesus in 72 hours. So, like I said, I studied a lot of masses. I have a child that goes to Catholic school, so I do find myself in the Catholic Church on most Sundays, so I was pretty savvy. I picked a TD who I know sort of runs the musical side of a Catholic church in Santa Monica. So I felt like I had a good wingman that could cover me in case something happened. And we had a pre-concert that was for everyone that was in the garden that day. And we had a huge finale planned. And of all things, the Pope arrived early. And, you know, what do? You cancel the finale because the Pope is there. And in the truck, I was watching him come through Central Park. Everything went great. The Homeland Security was really rough. Where I had planned to have my cameras or for rehearsal, all of a sudden they were moved. So it started being very much like a sporting event that I was just trying to, you know, be in a zone defense to cover stuff. The highlight moment of covering this event was everyone knows that church ends with communion. So to do communion, we had 300 fathers throughout the Madison Square Garden. So I'm cutting around, getting some familiar faces that I knew taking communion, and all of a sudden I was on in a video truck on 31st and 8th, and I get a tap on my shoulder, and Gail DePoli, who is a great tech supervisor, she arranged a father to come all the way to 31st and 8th. So while I was directing communion, I actually got to receive communion. So it was super surreal and probably one of the amazing moments in my career.
Fabulous, fabulous. Joel, when you did a America tribute to heroes, you were brought on initially, I understand, as a producer to put the whole thing together. Why would you also say, okay, and I'll direct? What was it? Was it a bad?
What's funny about that?
Did you eat something lousy or what?
Well, I would say that I had very little time. You know, you had said the actual broadcast was 10 days after 9/11, but really the entire process of production was only 6 days, because I got the call on Friday, whatever that was, September 14th, and we did the show the following Friday, September 21st. So we only had a week. So I wasn't really thinking straight. That's first of all. So perhaps if I thought straight, maybe I would have hired a director. But I was sort of given this task by the networks to sort of come up with something very quickly that would inspire people to want to contribute and would want to tune in for, you know, that would require us getting, obviously, celebrities and musicians. So really, I was wearing the producer hat for most of the time, you know, and had a lot of help from a lot of great people. And I think when I sort of came up with a vision of how simple the show should be, which, you know, for those of you who saw it, was really just in a empty sound stage with candles and, you know, just very simple and just very much, you know, in the moment, sort of reflecting how everybody was feeling, very spare. And it just felt to me the right thing to do. I mean, we were shooting it in 3 different locations. We were doing it in Los Angeles, we were doing it in New York, and we were doing it in London. So I was only directing 1/3 of the show, although that's still a lot, but I still was responsible for tying all the feeds together. But, you know, it was just, to me, I felt like I needed to be in that seat to make sure nothing went wrong. Sometimes as a producer-director, especially a show this important and live, you worry sometimes that by the time you tell the director to do something, you know, tap him on the shoulder, do this, do that, I could already make those decisions by already being in the chair. And that's essentially why I chose to direct it. And thankfully, you know, the stars were aligned and there were really no technical mishaps. Things went rather smoothly, actually.
Fabulous.
But if we have time later, I could tell you a story where that didn't happen.
Also, as we were talking on the phone, I believe that Heroes set the format for the new telethon, which you also carried over in the 2 installments of Stand Up to Cancer. The
Yeah, I
2-hour
became- yeah,
celebrity-studded.
Yeah, listen, when we conceived this format or structure, I thought it was a one-time only thing and we would never have to do the show again. And, then, Katrina hit, and then, of course, Haiti hit, and I became the go-to disaster guy. And, which is not necessarily my career goal, but I felt like since the format was sort of created, not really created, because, everybody, it's really inspired by the local telethon. That's really what it was. It just was more of on a grander scale. And, having the help of somebody like George Clooney calling his friends and getting all these celebrities to answer the phone, and you at home maybe have a 1/1,000,000th of a chance to talk to Brad Pitt, maybe would get more people to call, and those kinds of things we just sort of borrowed from ourselves. That's all. So it wasn't like we started a new format. We just said, well, we did it successfully like this. Let's do it again, and let's do it again. I mean, we don't really want to do it again ever again. So when you have so little time to do the show, you sort of just if it's not broken, right, don't fix it. So that's all.
It's great. Alex, you're currently in pre-production on Grease, the live 3-hour musical that's going to air on Fox in January. This to me is like from fade up to fade out, you would need to control everything. The steps where the choreographer is, it's so much more than just covering performance. Not taking anything away, it is what it is. How do you feel about that?
Ask my therapist.
I'm sorry? I just made you nervous. No, you've been nervous before.
Hugely excited and hugely nervous at the same time. So I think as any director will testify to, that on any project, whatever scale it is, however big or small, you go in with a degree of anxiety initially, and then you're excited because you're trying to do the absolute best job that you can. Surround yourself with the best team that you can, the best group of creative professionals, and you're just acting as a guide and a conduit for all that talent to form itself on screen in the best possible way. In terms of Grease Live, we're trying to, it's Paramount, so we have the rights to the original movie. So in a sense, straight off the bat, there's some hard things to try and creatively match in the live environment that you saw on the original movie. And so there's definitely some directorial challenges to that. We're doing it in Los Angeles at the previous 2. In fact, the Wiz is just about to air in December as well. So the previous productions of that genre, which has kind of been reinvigorated in the last 2 years, which is very exciting for all of us doing live TV. The fact that there seems to be a new momentum in the live environment, I think that's fantastic. I think it's the networks are more and more excited about appointment-to-view events, and I think live TV is being seen as a vehicle for that, and a vehicle for bringing people and families and genres together on a small screen. I think that's really exciting. But yes, as for Grease, we are in LA, and we might regret this, but part of the show is going to be outside as well as inside, with the Godzilla El Nino that is forecast in January here. So yes, as a director, there's lots of things to worry about in that, without going into narrative details of the show. It's all about the prep. We're starting to dry block. We're about 2 months out now already in starting that process of dry blocking. That lasts for about a month. And then we go on to the sets, kind of single camera directing, and spend 2 weeks in that process, trying to hone the lighting of scenes and the audio design of scenes and the fine blocking. And then finally, there's 2 weeks of camera blocking, multicam, where you really get a chance to expand and have the entire technical team working through into the dress rehearsal process and into transmission. But as with any of the projects that the very experienced people up on this stage deal with on a week-to-week basis, there are always challenges, and the fun bit, I think, for all of us is just delving in, surrounding yourself with those creative individuals that we all know do fantastic jobs, and bouncing our ideas off them and getting the best of everyone's creative back in and creating a better end product.
Amazing. Very diversified group. I'll throw this out to everybody. Is there a show that is on currently, a special whatever, that you haven't done that you would like to do?
Alex's show.
What? Alex's show. Is there a call that you would like to get for any type of tentpole special or? Go ahead.
Well, after directing 6 Broadway performances at the White House last night, I would, and my AD actually does the Tonys, and I had very little prep, and he told me how they get to go see the performance and then they block it out. I would like to have that sort of prep, and I think the Tonys would be an awesome show to direct.
Any other show, guys? Anybody?
The Olympic opening or closing ceremony has to be kind of the culmination of one of the biggest events in the world that would be kind of fun to do. Thanks, Hamish. The Olympics?
Oh, the Olympics.
I would not want to direct the Olympics.
Just the beginning.
I thought I wanted to till I saw 300 children go out on ice. And a beautiful thing, but 300 children, sorry.
I'd like to do the last award show ever. The final award show, where we give awards for the entirety of human history. That would be fun.
That would be fun. A lot of the shows are our babies. We sometimes make mistakes within them. We don't like them. We know them more than probably anybody. The internet, however, puts stuff up that lives forever, and it's up on YouTube faster than you guys thanking your crew in the truck. How do you feel about that? Did you just give in to it, drink the punch, and say it is what it is, or what?
Well, it's sort of nice. You don't really have to send your reel out anymore. You can just say, it's on YouTube and just say the name. It's amazing. I have shows I did in the 90s and stuff that I don't know if a tape operator got them or something, and they're all there. It's like stuff that I can't believe is on YouTube and pretty good quality. I personally don't mind it, but I know others might. But
I tried explaining intellectual property rights to my teenagers, and they just didn't care. I mean, they're just a generation who's used to free content. So.
Crazy. Do we want to do anybody have any questions or questions and answers for the illustrious four? Talk about audio.
Yes, my name's Carl Hansen. I'm with Fox Sports. I'm familiar with all your guys' work. You guys do great work. I think for a lot of people that don't have that experience of being inside a TV truck, they don't really know how hectic it can be. I'm wondering if each of you can kind of speak to, obviously when things go well, it can still be hectic for sure, but when things don't go well, what do you do? And sort of second to that, how important is the team that you surround yourself with your TD, your AD, script super, all those people, to those specific projects?
I could speak to a show from this year that didn't go well. I was shooting a Super Bowl special at Luke Air Force Base for a network, and we were live on the air, and I think we were in Act 2 of the show, and the chief of the Air Force, this guy's like the number 3 most powerful person in our government, was on stage about to intro a music performance, and we had the best crew in the truck, and all of a sudden he intros the band. It was Fall Out Boy, I believe, and all the monitors went green in the truck, and we had the best people working on the show, but a $20 circuit breaker on the video truck broke, and we actually went off the air. the network had some alternative programming. They had a Taylor Swift storytellers that automatically went on. We went off the air for like 10 minutes, and we were able to come back. A lot of people called me the next day. They said, "That's cool, you had Taylor Swift on your show," and didn't really realize what happened. And maybe we got a better rating going from using Taylor Swift on the air other than Fall Out Boy. But, you can surround yourself with the best people and in certain situations, but you just never know what's going to happen. And it actually happened twice during the show. The 4-star general actually came in the truck with his wife to kind of watch the show once we were back up, and it happened again. It was just, you feel terrible after, but in the end, you just have to kind of move on.
I mean, I'd like just to do a shout out, and I think we all would agree that our associate directors and our stage managers, our DGA team, if you will, are critical to our success. I mean, we put demands on them, which we'll pay for in another life. But and with all our calm demeanors, they come through almost always. So.
Anyone else have a story about something falling apart? Anybody else have a story about something
I
else
have
falling
a
apart?
story, that I'll try to tell very quickly because I know we're short on time, but it's a story, I guess, that you have to always plan for a contingency even though you don't think you need a contingency. It was a show I did also in 1999, Mike Simon.
Big year for you.
Yeah, it was a big year for all of us, I guess. And it was at the White House, which Michael was at last night. It was on the lawn. It was a live broadcast for VH1. It was on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was a benefit for Save the Music, and a lot of great name performers and big celebrities were there. And I was told about a half hour before the show that about 15 minutes before the show goes live, the president of VH1, who was John Sykes at the time, was going to make a presentation to Bill Clinton. He's going to give him a guitar signed by all the artists. And it was definitely going to start on time. They were definitely going to be done. And won't be a problem going live with the show at 4 o'clock. Were you on the truck?
I wasn't at the show.
Okay, you weren't at the show. And so we didn't really have a plan because everybody told me that it was going to be fine. And it's 3:45. And no sign of the president yet. It's 3:50, no sign of the president. So at about 7 minutes to 4, President and Mrs. Clinton show up, and I figured, John's going to just tell him, hey, it's too late, we're going to do it after the show. But no, John gets on stage and starts doing his speech. That's about a 10-minute speech, and it's now 7 minutes to 4. And there's no sign of him cutting it short, this and that, and it's now 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes. And I'm talking to a VH1 executive on the headphones, and I'm asking them, what do they want me to do? And they said, I don't know. What do you want to do? So they basically put it on me to make the call. And I'm still hoping some miracle happens that John's going to wrap it up. But literally, Bill Clinton's not even on stage yet. He hasn't been called up yet. John's about to present him with his guitar. And it's like 2 minutes. Now it's 1 minute. And I sort of turn around to everybody in the truck. I said, listen, I'm going to do it, right? And everybody sort of nods yes, because, hey, it's not their ass on the line, it's mine. And I just basically say right there, on the essay with all the dignitaries and the president, Mrs. Clinton, I said, John Sykes, this is Joel Gallen, your director in the truck. We're going live in 1 minute. We need everybody to clear the stage. And John looked a little upset. I think he turned white. But President Clinton was like my stage manager. He was getting everybody off the stage. And Hillary was helping too. Everybody was rushing to their seats. I think Ken Stein was my stage manager. He was racing Eric Clapton out to set up his guitar and go off without a hitch. And 4 o'clock straight up, there was Eric Clapton playing a blues song, and everything was great. Deep, sigh of relief. We had no backup plan. Otherwise, we would have had to go to like a please stand by that we probably would have had to type up in the truck because we didn't even have that ready. And we get to the first commercial break. And Ken Stein on the headset, with everybody listening, said, Joel, John Sykes would like to talk to you. He gives him the headset, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was not happy, and he said, "You embarrassed me in front of the President of the United States." And I said, "John, I'm really sorry. I'm hired to do a live show. It's live. It's 4 o'clock. Nobody really told me about any backup plan." He goes, "Just tell the NOC to play some music videos." And we were not prepared for that, so we couldn't do it. And anyway, the show went on for about another 25, 30 minutes. Then he gets on the headset again. He goes, "Next commercial break, tell the NOC to play a lot of videos because I'm going to do the presentation." So in the middle of this 2-hour live broadcast, we went to a 12-minute commercial break. This is all true. I'm not making any of this up. And he got his presentation in to President Clinton, and Hillary said some words too. And I think even President Clinton made a joke about it, saying he's worried that he's not the president of the network, and if he doesn't hurry up, he's going to get kicked off the stage too. And so again, no matter what you think as a director, you better have a plan B, because you never know. When you think you're making the right decision, many times the person you're working for may not agree. And needless to say, I mean, John and I are okay now, but it was years before we worked together. But I'm not saying it had anything to do with this, but one can only speculate. That's my story.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, I'm Christina, independent filmmaker. You were talking about iHeart. You do the Jennifer Lopez performance a few months back? Well, it was on Yahoo, wherever else it was distributed.
Yeah.
We've been talking about social media, and that was a very immediate response. Next to Jennifer singing in that courageous outfit she was wearing, right, were all these awful comments from people all over the world saying that, it was terrible. And we create beautiful visuals, and we want to see them full frame. And I know that looking at something streaming on the internet in that way, you're going to see it in different forms. But were you aware of that, not during the production, but were you aware of that running commentary on the show? And do you ever pay attention to that, of what people are saying in their comment feeds in response to your live programming?
No, not. I try not to. I mean, that's a really intense show where you're shooting 13 hours of music over 2 nights, and I think there's a lot of artists that probably have people that go kind of crazy on them like that, but it kind of doesn't, affect what I do. And I didn't, I'm not dressing her or, telling her how to perform or whatever. So no.
Anybody else?
We had a lot of talk today about UHD and HDR and, as a storytelling tool. So do you have any thoughts on this wonderful future that everyone thinks may be ahead, but a lot of people are very pessimistic and think maybe it's not going to make a difference in terms of storytelling? What are your thoughts on, for a Grease, does that make a difference? Do you think it'll make a difference to have HDR and more vivid colors, or any of your shows?
I think we all work in a profession where we are constantly trying to push the boundaries of technology and to make picture quality and audio quality consistently better. Anything that makes the viewing experience more real, more lifelike, more immersive is fantastic for all of us. We all support that, and we all support the industry and the companies that constantly work to evolve those technologies. HDR specifically for live TV, it's still a little way out, but it's incredibly exciting, and constantly we're trying to, I think 4K is a medium that is slightly closer to reality for all of us. It's starting to touch on the productions that we make. It brings new challenges. It certainly brings financial challenges into the process, and you have to weigh up how many people in real time have I mean, at the moment there's really no 4K real-time outlets for mass market. So then you're looking into archive and whether it's a smart way of archiving your material. But they're all exciting tools that are constantly coming into our palette to work with. And I think any director is always looking out for the next tool just to help tell the story better.
On the sports side, we've had a lot of discussions about frame rate, and the need for that you can't do 24 frames per second sports. So but it looks like the near term, a lot of the broadcasts in UHD when they happen may be 24 frames just because of a bandwidth issue. Would you be concerned working in 24 frames? Would you want to say, look, we can't do this because it looks less realistic?
You know, I just did a special for NBC a couple of months ago, a comedy special. It wasn't live, but it was multi-camera through a truck with 4K cameras. And the advantages, and there was some music elements, and the advantages really, to me, were certain shots, like waist shots, had a depth of field which we were just not going to get in non-4K, and that was tremendously exciting. Putting a prime lens on something and putting it on a Steadicam. Live, it's a ways out. There were more wires on these cameras doing something, and focus pullers on each camera, which obviously it's not there live, but I think it's definitely a direction which we'll all be doing in the next 3 to 5 years.
Questions?
I have a question. How do you guys deal with everybody wants to reduce it to the size of an iPhone screen? Come on. I mean, reduce your picture down to an iPhone screen.
In terms of our material being rebroadcast, because people are watching it on tablets and iPhones and everything.
Exactly.
Look, it's great. It's second screen media. I think we need to embrace the fact that the environment has changed significantly and will continue to change. The opportunities to watch the material that we are lucky enough to work on are much more multifaceted these days. I think we need to be aware of that. But I don't think the fact that someone watches any of our product on an iPhone screen or a tablet or a PC or a great 4K curved screen at home should change the fact that we still aspire to produce it in the best technical quality.
Particularly when it generates a residual. So.
No, I definitely think, like my 16-year-old daughter has probably seen more of my work on her iPhone screen than on an actual TV, and unfortunately, that's the direction that's going. So,
The good news is it always looks better on the small screen. None of the imperfections show up on the small screen, so it's really good. I like it.
It changes. I mean, when Joel and I did the sing-off, weren't we protecting 4:3 in the first season? With very wide acts on stage. So that's changed. So it happens.
Well, I had a great time. Hopefully, you all had a nice time. I want to thank Michael Dempsey, Joel Gallen, Alex Rudzinski, and Michael Simon